Let me tell you, friends, that song absolutely says it. The world better watch out when you and I are billionaires. Welcome to our February edition of the ILCA 5-day challenge. My name is your Queen Connectress, Miss Marnita Casa, and I am your humble hostess for today. Now, there's one thing that I always like to say, and that is we totally understand that there are so many different things that you can be doing with your time. My goodness, the nighttime is the right time for family and for preparation of the next day. So the fact that you all decided to come on out and hear what we have to say, of course, it makes us so very happy. So again, welcome. And oh my goodness, you guys, we are on fire. I don't know if you were here last night or not, but man, we talked about what is blockchain technology. Oh my gosh. And then at the end with our VIP session where we were able to do Q&A, our VIPs were asking the best questions. And thank goodness our instructor allowed us to keep it on YouTube because everyone, and I mean everyone, needs this education, needs this information, and the energy that is coming from our community. So if you are new, I like to say, please get ready, get yourself a pen and paper because the value that is coming out of these challenges are almost priceless. And if you're already part of our community, I love you guys. Thank you guys so very much for constantly showing up, constantly giving us your positive energy, and always talking about ILCA and spreading the word. So we truly, truly appreciate you. And speaking of ILCA, all my friends on YouTube, hello, everybody. I see you guys. If you want to be on this side with the VIPs and the cool kids, you just stick around. We will be posting the link so you can be able to jump on board with us. You can be part of our VIP session and be able to ask questions of our instructor tonight. So let me go ahead and start saying hello. I told you guys my VIPs are showing up and showing out today. As you guys start coming on in, please type your name and where you are from in the chat box. And if you have the opportunity, please turn on your cameras. One of the best parts about us meeting on a Zoom call like this is that we get a chance to see all those beautiful smiles and those wonderful faces. So let me go ahead and start saying hello. First up, we have the Empress herself. Her name is Miss Catherine Clement. Hi, baby. How are you? Mwah. Thank you so very much for being here. We truly appreciate you. I see you. Yvette is on the scene. Hi, Yvette. How are you, sweetheart? Oh, that smile is contagious. Thank you so very much for being with us this evening. Of course, we have a pillar of our community. This woman has been with us since we started. Her name is Miss Patty Geis, representing San Diego. Yes, you. Hello, baby. Thank you so much for being here. We truly appreciate everything that you do for us. I see Miss Melanie Davis is showing up and showing out with her background. Miss Melanie, that's beautiful. Thank you so very much for being here. She is representing Chicago. Thank you so very much for being here with us, beautiful. I see you, Maggie. Maggie is here with us this evening. She says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Maggie. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. There is Fresh to Death. His name is Mr. CJ Jackson, is showing up for Arizona. Hello, sir. How are you? Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. It is always good to see you. Of course, there is the beautiful Miss Carla Arrigo. Hello, love. Oh, there she goes. Booyah. Carla is one of our first partners in our partnership program. So congratulations, Carla. We had a wonderful meeting today. It was so beautiful strategizing with you. Thank you for being here. I see we have Mr. Elton is here with us. Hi, Elton. How are you, sweetheart? He's trying to turn on his camera. Thank you so much for being here, Elton. It is always good to see you, my friend. There he is. Hello, sweetheart. I see we have Miss Chris Delgado is here with us today. Hello, Chris. How are you? Thank you so much for being here. There she is. There's my angel. Her name is Miss Joyce Easley. Hi, baby. How are you? Thank you so much for being here this evening, and thank you for everything that you do for our community. I see Miss Jacqueline Briggs is here. Hello, love. Okay, you guys, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and get this party started. Again, thank each and every one of you for being here this evening and attending our February edition of the ILCA 5-Day Challenge. My name is your Queen Connectress, Miss Marnita Casa, and I am your humble hostess for today. Now, it is my honor to introduce you all to a man that for over 25 years dominated the direct sales industry. His cryptocurrency education is used by companies and universities worldwide. For over 8 years, he dedicated his life to learning about blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, but he didn't just stop there. He decided to go out and share this information with the masses, and this was done by putting on fun and exciting Bitcoin boot camps nationwide at no cost. He has built wonderful communities and thriving platforms like you see before you today. So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce you all to Mr. Brandon Ivey.
All right, all right, all right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Miss Casa, for being our host for tonight, our hostess. Welcome, everybody. You guys came back for a second night. So I am assuming you took a lot of benefit from what we learned last night on day one of the 5-day challenge, and you're back for some more. And I promise you, we're going to bring the same energy tonight. We're going to be talking about a topic called How Do Cryptocurrencies Work? Now that you know what the blockchain is. We went over that in detail. And if you're brand new, you can always, and you missed last night, you can go to our YouTube channel and see the replay from last night. If you're a VIP member at the end of the week, I will be uploading all 5 of our days into our membership section, so you'll have access to that. And you guys will have access to all of the previous 5-day challenges that we've done. So if you're curious, you can tell and see, even though we might cover some of the same topics each month, they're different every single time. And this is our 3rd year in doing the 5-day challenge. So again, why do I do the 5-day challenge? Well, I believe that blockchain technology and cryptocurrency is setting to be the foundation of our future digital society. It's bigger than the internet, one of the greatest inventions mankind has ever had that is going to impact every single person on the planet, not just a few. And because of that, we all need to know and understand what's going on. See, in the past, when revolutions like this took place, most people didn't realize it until after the fact when you read it in the history book. You didn't realize that you were living it at the moment. Right now, we are living this era. Movies, books, TV shows, history, everything's going to be written about what's happening now. And I'm going to put a little bit of fear into you to understand. Since the 90s, the internet has taken recordings to a whole nother level. See, ever since radios and TVs, we can always listen to old school clips about Pearl Harbor and the Vietnam War and what was going on with the space race and JFK and Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Act. And then we have to hear stories from our grandparents or parents that lived that. But this era of the internet, your descendants aren't just going to be able to read about it. They're actually going to be able to live it and know exactly what you are doing during this time because you have a Facebook account. You have a Twitter account. You're on TikTok. You're on X and all that stuff. And you're taking selfies. You're recording your own personal videos. You're uploading to YouTube. So they're going to be able to hear what you sound like. They're going to be able to see what you had for dinner last night. They're going to be able to get to know you on a personal level in ways that we had never been able to know our grandparents and great-grandparents. Only we knew them from when we were born. But you're going to be able to see, they're going to be able to see you when you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. And then they're going to ask, wow, Bitcoin's like $20 million a coin. What was Grandma Catherine doing during that time when Bitcoin was just coming out? What was Grandma Carla doing when it came out? Did she do anything to set our family up? I don't know. Was Chris positioned? Did Nathan make any moves? See, one thing that I live by is that I can live with failure as long as I tried. What I can't live with is not having even tried and not being in the game. and for my great grandchildren to see that Grandpa Brandon was bullshitting during this time and playing around and worrying about, nonsense stuff because that's what I'm posting about. So I'm big on legacy. And this is an opportunity for us to create a legacy for our families. Now, last night I talked about one thing that I learned in May of 2017 that changed my life was that blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet today, whether you like it or not. But then there's a second thing that I learned that is the topic for tonight, where I learned that cryptocurrency represents the greatest economic shift in wealth in the history of mankind for the most amount of people. Now, those of you in MoveQuest that listened to our X Space last Sunday, I gave the example of mining gold and mining Bitcoin. And during the gold rush that we read about in history books, we read about people that were able to pick up from the east and move out west and go stake their claim on gold. But the entire population of the east did not move out west. Not everybody had the means and the resources. Do you understand how much money it took to engage in something like that? They didn't just decide to get up and walk across the country one day. You had to get your horses, you had to get your supplies, you had to have enough ready and have your team and your people, your family, your workers with you because you weren't necessarily coming back anytime soon. This was months long adventure across the country. So only a certain group of people were able to do that. And then once you got there, you had to purchase the equipment to dig in the ground in the first place. You had to have enough lumber and skills to be able to build a town to settle in. So it was only certain communities that were able to do that. This modern day gold rush, every single man, woman, and child, regardless of age, race, sex, color, creed, language, education, can be involved. There's only three things that you need. And this is one that everybody has. Cell phone, right? Everybody has a cell phone. What else do you need? Access to the internet. Like I said, take the Wi-Fi away for 5 minutes to see how your household handles it. And the third thing that everybody has, but most people don't use or are afraid to use or don't know how. And it's this. Joyce beat me to it. A willingness to learn. A willingness to learn. If you have that and you've make a decision like I did, I didn't fully make my decision until May 2017. I had been looking at this space since September 2016. But it took all the way to May of next year, and I was already researching for about 3 months of what crypto and Bitcoin it was, but I didn't make the decision yet. I was really heavily wanting to get into real estate that going into that summer, and crypto was going to be a pastime. But when I figured that out, that changed my life, and it's going to change my family tree. It only takes one person in the family. Luckily, in my family, we've got two, me and Marnita. We've got a very, very big family. You know, at my grandma's funeral, I met cousins that I knew they were there. I never met them from San Diego that were my grandmother's sister that I've only seen her once or twice in my life. And it's like every year, new cousins pop up all over the place. But it only takes one in the family to change everything. And tonight, we're going to talk about how this currency actually works. So let me go ahead and share screen. And we're going to jump on into this. So how do cryptocurrencies work? When I first heard of Bitcoin, I thought it was nothing but monopoly money being used by nerds who live in their mom's basement playing World of Warcraft all day. And that was back in 2010 when I heard about Bitcoin for the very first time. I was watching, it was late night. I don't know if it was E4 TV or it was a gamer network. I was a big, big gamer. I still am, but I was way more so back in the day. And I was watching this show and they were interviewing this top gamer at the time, and they were in his home, and he had this monster computer rig that he built. And while interviewing him, off to the side, you see these little LED lights and other towers lined up. And the interviewer said, "Hey, what is that?" And he said, "Oh, those are my old rigs." He was like, "Oh, you're still using them? You're using them to play games?" He said, "No, I'm mining Bitcoin." So he turned his old computer towers into Bitcoin mining. And since he had built them himself, he was mining a lot of Bitcoin in those early days. And the guy said, "Bitcoin?" He said, "Yeah, that's a new form of like digital money." And I was like, "Oh, that's just gamer money." I didn't think nothing of it. And that's kind of the mistake most people make today. Now, to understand cryptocurrencies, you've got to understand money. Did you know that most Americans or people in the world don't even understand and know what money is? When you hear the term money, you think of this. This is not money. This is a representation of value. Money is energy, and it changes over time. Pop quiz again. What country has the oldest form of currency still in circulation today? Type it in the chat box. Money changes over time. In the very early days, people exchanged value via a barter system of trading goods, followed by the development of commodity like gold and silver, as they were easy to carry and divide and had a level of scarcity that provided value. With the rise of banking arose a debt-based system where we deposited gold with the bank. And they issued us a piece of paper representing how much gold we had with the bank. After all, it's much easier to carry around paper bills than a bag of gold. In 1971, President Nixon abolished the gold standard, ending the ability for people to redeem US dollars for gold at the Federal Reserve, allowing the government full autonomy to freely print money, thus making US dollar a fiat currency. How many of you was not aware that this is not backed by gold? And it's okay if you weren't. It's okay. My own brother, who has a high school degree, college degree, master's degree, and a doctorate degree. He was born in 1978. And when he was hearing that I was in this thing called cryptocurrency, he's like, "What is that? Like kryptonite? Well, how's that work?" I was like, "No, it's not kryptonite, cryptocurrency." He's like, "Yeah, but it's not backed by anything. It's fake. See, money is backed by gold." And I looked at him, Devin, pull out your money. What does it say at the top of your money there? It says Federal Reserve Note. It hasn't been backed by gold in your entire life. It's backed by trust. That's what the fiat money is, backed by trust. Fiat currencies, which are now commonplace around the world, are not backed by tangible assets, only the promise from a government. And you wonder, how can this survive just being backed by trust? Why do the people trust it? Well, this is where you got to know history. After World War II, the whole planet was literally smashed. More than 40 plus million people were dead because of World War II. Entire nations and cities were flattened to the ground, except one major powerhouse country, the United States. The United States' only casualty we suffered on the internal was Pearl Harbor. And all the factories that we built up in the war machine that we built up during the war was transferred over to the private sector after the war to be producing goods and services. United States became the world's superpower. And since we had a stable economy, we used that as a soft power to help rebuild the world because the other currencies in the world weren't worth anything. So the people trusted the United States and our currency, which is why it became the world reserve currency, which is why it is still viable today. Now, those who are paying attention to geopolitics, which we cover in our inner circle talk, will see that times are changing around the world. 80 years removed from World War II, new generations are like, why are we trusting the Americans? Why do we need America anymore? And America at the same time is saying, we don't care about the rest of the world. It's America first. So you've got a perfect storm coming in a nation called BRICS to change the status quo. But anyways, I digress. Unfortunately, this led to currency manipulation and devaluation by governments to erode massive federal deficits at the expense of the consumer. So now, since this is not backed by gold, whenever we're in financial trouble, the government just prints more of this. And if you print more of this, what happens to its value? It goes down. Did you know that this has lost more than 90% value in the last 80 years? Lost 90% value. $20 at the grocery store in 1990 got you a whole lot more than $20 gets you today. In fact, $20 today can't even get you 2 cartons of a dozen eggs or 2 dozen eggs. Just think about that for a moment. $20 today can't even get you 2 dozen eggs. That's insane. I remember back in the day, $20, you stretch that out right. You can stretch that out for a week at the grocery store. My parents figured out how to do that back in the day, but not anymore. And which direction is that going? Is it going in the opposite direction? Or is it continuing to be let lose value every single year? Robert Kiyosaki says if you have a savings account and you're saving all your money and wealth in there, you're losing money every year. That's a fact. So say goodbye to the gold standard and hello, inflation. The dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power since the mid 20th century as a result of inflation. This is why many financial planners stress investing in assets like stocks, gold, real estate, etc., rather than holding cash to preserve and grow wealth, given fiat loses its store of value over time. Even our school systems do not teach us that. They just teach us how to make money by working a job for somebody else. They don't teach you how to invest it. They don't teach you how to become a business owner, how to become an asset holder. They don't teach you that. But wealthy people know this because they teach themselves, they teach each other, they teach their children, or they send their kids to certain private schools that do teach this that most people cannot afford. You see, a billionaire does not have $1 billion in a bank account. Do you think Elon Musk has an extra 240 billion that he's earned since President Trump won sitting in a bank account? No. The average billionaire has anywhere between 30 to 50 million dollars accessible cash at any liquid cash at any given time, because that's all they need to live their lifestyle. You can buy whatever you want at the drop of a hat with $50 million in the bank. You don't need 5 billion sitting in the bank that's losing value every single year unless you own the bank and that bank is leveraging your money and you're getting a big percentage of that. That's what they do to the rest of us. They have their money in assets, stocks, bonds, real estate, art, precious metals, things that don't lose value. Instead, they gain value every year. It's important to understand that the US dollar is the best transactional currency in the world today, as of now, but this is changing over time. So it's still to the point that if you needed to have any type of currency to do any transactions around the world, you still want to have the US dollar for now. For a long time, gold has been considered the ultimate store of value. Now, people are turning to cryptocurrencies as they are more secure, easier to store and transport, cheaper to use, and easier to subdivide than any asset known today. You can't take a gold bar to the grocery store and try to chop it up and then pay for whatever it is you want in little pieces of gold. But Bitcoin, you can. You can chop up Bitcoin. And pieces of Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. See, one thing a lot of people are misconception is they think they can't afford Bitcoin because it reached $100,000. No, you can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin right now. You can buy a piece of it. In fact, the whole economy is changing and being tokenized and NFTs and real world assets that people who are never able to get involved in real estate can now. You may not have $700,000 for that house, but you can buy $100 worth of it because you're going to be able to buy pieces of property. It's going to be a shared thing, decentralized. The world's going to change. So it is disrupting the international payments and transfers business by cutting out the exorbitant fees of banks and the middleman. And that's what we talked about last night with the blockchain technology. The global remittance market, people working in one country and sending money back home to their families, as well as becoming the currency of the internet and fueling a new wave of global e-commerce. Now, the underlying point here is that Bitcoin is not meant for paying for your Starbucks coffee instead of dollars yet. And we covered that in Crypto Talk this morning too, where there was a gentleman, a CEO of a company that was saying, I don't know if Bitcoin is going to be used a certain way. See, it doesn't matter what the intent of Satoshi Nakamoto is. It matters how we decide we want to use it. And the public decided they wanted Bitcoin to be a store of value for now. So the basic concept, cryptocurrency is roughly the equivalent of using PayPal or a debit card, except the numbers on the screen represent cryptocurrency instead of a fiat currency like a dollar. All you really need to do is set up an account with a crypto exchange service like Coinbase, use your fiat money from your bank and purchase crypto. It's just as easy if you set up a PayPal account, a Cash App account, Zelle, online banking. Same concept. To use cryptocurrency, you don't need to understand it any more than you need to understand the monetary system to use a credit card. However, if you want to understand cryptocurrency, you need to understand the concept of digital currency, the concept of blockchain, both a ledger of transactions and as a technology, and the concept of cryptography. After all, cryptocurrency is a digital currency where transactions are recorded on a digital ledger called a blockchain, and every process along the way is secured by cryptography, which means it's anonymous, it's private. The only thing that's public is the address, and they don't know who that address actually belongs to. In simple terms, cryptocurrency works a lot like bank credit on a debit card. In both cases, a complex system that issues currency and records transactions and balances works behind the scenes to allow people to send and receive currency electronically. The main difference between cryptocurrency and bank credit is that instead of banks and governments issuing the currency and keeping ledgers, an algorithm does this. And we covered that last night. Now, is there interest? Oh, I might have to even update this. The last time I updated this lesson was 2024, I think July. See, there is tremendous interest in the cryptocurrency space right now, and equal parts confusion, uncertainty, and doubt. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, ICO, smart contracts, DeFi, NFTs, and metaverse. I'm going to have to add to this. Also, artificial intelligence, decentralization, tokenization, CBDCs. Now there's a new term we learned in crypto talk, AI agents. I wasn't familiar with that until a few months ago. What do these even mean? The natural response to these foreign concepts is usually skepticism and rejection. But beneath the jargon lies a powerful new technology revamping our financial system. Bitcoin started as an experiment. Just think about that. It started as an experiment in the depths of the global financial crisis of 2008. Remember that? The greatest recession since the Great Depression. Aiming to build a better financial system. And why? Because that was the first time in modern history where trust of this was shaken to its core. 2008 threatened to upend the entire global system. And if you remember who was president at the time, George Bush, he came out and he did a famous speech, which many consider is what saved not only the American system, but the entire global economy, where he said, don't worry, trust us. We're going to get this fixed. Trust the government. Banks too big to fail. Businesses too big to fail. You're not going to lose your jobs. Well, I don't know about that one because I lost my job. I don't know how many of you lost your jobs during that time. Did any of you guys get bailed out? Nope. But the banks did. The very institutions that caused the problem in the first place got bailed out. And you know what? They got bailed out with our money, with taxpayer money. So this is why Bitcoin came about, or what sparked it. It was already in development. The thought of Bitcoin is decades old. It didn't just happen and spring out of the ground in 2008. That was just a perfect catalyst where they said, the cryptographers said, you know what, we're tired of trusting the government. Let's create our own, and it's based on math, not a single individual, based on mathematics. So the aim was to build a better financial system. Early on, cryptocurrencies developed a seedy undertone as they were mainly associated with black market trades, ransomware payments, money laundering, and tax evasion. Cryptocurrency has been described as the most disruptive technology since the internet, as well as a fraud or massive Ponzi scheme by the bankers and the politicians who don't understand it and fear it. So what is cryptocurrency? Well, cryptocurrency is a digital currency that doesn't rely on central banks or trusted third parties to verify transactions and create new currency units. Instead, it uses cryptography to confirm transactions on a publicly distributed ledger called a blockchain. So we don't need Jerome Powell going up there to print more of this. There are thousands of different cryptocurrencies in circulation, each with varying values. The first cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, was developed in 2009 by a programmer using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, I have a lesson trying to cover who is Satoshi Nakamoto. Well, it really doesn't matter, and I hope we never find out who it is. Because if we do, unfortunately, well, at this point, it's too far gone. I mean, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. But the reason why you don't want that, you ever hear that old statement, never want to meet your heroes? Because then you realize your heroes are human. Your heroes have fallacies. Your heroes make errors and mistakes. And we find out who Satoshi Nakamoto is, then it doesn't become about the movement. It becomes about that individual or group. Who are they tied to? Are they American? Do they speak English? Are they Christian? Are they Muslim? Are they a Republican? Are they a Democrat? Do they like Donald Trump or not? So we don't want to know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. The project stands on its own. In a 2008 white paper entitled A Peer-to-Peer Electronic Cash System, Nakamoto provides the first description of blockchain. Blockchain is the technology that enables cryptocurrency to work like government-issued fiat currencies without the involvement of any central bank or trusted third party. And I said this to our inner circle, or was it last night, that if you have not done so, read the Bitcoin white paper for yourself. For yourself. If you don't have the time to read it, or you don't have, you don't like to read, there are those out there too, they don't really like to read. Then you can go to YouTube, type in Bitcoin white paper Brandon Ivey at the top, and I recorded myself reading the Bitcoin white paper. And I forgot to mention this too on X Spaces when we were asking about what books really influenced us, and I shared The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. I actually recorded myself reading that book too, and that's on YouTube. So if you don't want to read it, you can listen to me doing audio reading of it. Just type in The Science of Getting Rich and then Brandon Ivey, and it'll pop up. Transactions are sent between peers from cryptocurrency wallets by matching up public codes which relate back to user-held private passwords, aka cryptographic keys. Transactions made between peers are recorded on a public ledger of transactions called a blockchain. All users of a given cryptocurrency have access to the ledger if they choose to download a full node wallet as opposed to holding their coins in a third-party wallet like Coinbase. The transaction amounts are public, but who sent the transactions is encrypted. Each transaction leads back to a digital cryptocurrency wallet. And not tomorrow night, but Thursday night. Which day? Either Thursday or Thursday night. We're going to do securities, wallet security. We'll be talking about the wallets that hold your cryptos and the difference between them and the security to maintain them. That's going to be on Thursday night. Whoever owns the password or private or the key to the wallet owns the amount of cryptocurrency denoted on the ledger. When someone sends or receives cryptocurrency, when they send from one wallet to another wallet using a set of private and public passwords, that transaction is queued up to be added to the ledger. Many transactions are added to a ledger at once. These blocks of transactions are added sequentially. That is why the ledger and the technology behind it is called blockchain. It is a chain of blocks of transactions. So what is Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is digital money that is not issued or controlled by anyone. So this is fiat money. It is issued and controlled by the Federal Reserve in the United States of America. Bitcoin is used to buy goods, services, store wealth, or send value to anyone without the permission of a third party. So if you wanted to send money from one country to another, we used to use Western Union. You had to pay a fee. Depending on the amount you're sending, you got to go through KYC. It's all process, and a bigger transaction might take 3 or 4 days to get there. And then you got to pay another big fee for it. But with crypto, you can send transactions almost instantaneously anywhere around the world, and you don't need the bank's permission. You don't need the government's permission. You don't need Western Union's permission. Often regarded as digital gold, Bitcoin that is stored properly cannot be hacked, stolen, or seized. And that is where security is so big. And I'm kicking myself for not. I've always talked security, but really emphasizing it first. So that's my 2025 is all about security first. So thus giving people full proprietorship, much like having a Swiss bank account in their pocket. Unlike physical gold, Bitcoin is cheaper, faster, and more efficient to store or send anywhere in the world. Bitcoin is divisible to the 8th decimal place and is completely digital, which means right now you still hear stories of people saying, "Yeah, I bought a whole Bitcoin," or "I bought half a Bitcoin." That's still possible. You're not going to hear stories like that in the future. You're going to hear people say, "Yeah, I bought 3 Satoshis." Say, what? What is that? Satoshis are pieces of a Bitcoin, all the way again to the 8th decimal. So like right now, $50,000, well, Bitcoin went down. $43,000 represents 0.5 Satoshis. Okay, this is half of a Bitcoin. $25,000, it's like 0.25 Satoshis, or 0.25 Bitcoin. Once it gets all the way, Bitcoin's like at $1 million plus. And then 1 Satoshi is that 8th decimal place. So you're going to have to start to get used to a new unit of measure when it comes to money. Now, The one thing about Bitcoin that makes this so phenomenal is that there's only 21 million that will ever be available. It is finite supply, just like gold. There is not an unlimited amount of gold. In fact, gold is very rare in the entire universe. And that's what makes it so valuable. So as demand for gold rises and there's less gold to go around, the existing gold's value goes up. Do you think people holding gold get excited whenever there's a new report of somewhere around the world in a different country, a new gold vein and mine has been created? No, because now you're going to be adding more gold into the ecosystem and everybody's value goes down. But what happens in the United States when the government decides to just print more money? Do you know 40% of all money in current circulation was printed during the COVID era? Remember the stimulus checks? They just printed money out of thin air. But without anything backing it, you devalue the money that's already out in circulation, which causes inflation. You can't have inflation in Bitcoin because there's only 21 million. There are more millionaires and billionaires in the world today than there are Bitcoin. So every millionaire and billionaire can afford to buy as many Bitcoin as they want right now. But if there's not enough to go around, what happens to the value of the Bitcoin? Think about, like, I used to love looking at the Lamborghini cars when they, in certain models where only 10 of them have been created in the world. And you got the world's richest people fighting to be one of those 10. And they're willing to pay $5 million for a car. You know, it's not worth that much, but it is worth that much because that's what the people want it for. That's what they're willing to pay for it for. So Bitcoin is the internet of money and will do for finance what the internet did for communication. And I don't want to skip that part. I want that to sink in for a second. Let's go back to the 90s before the internet, when Brian Gumble and everybody made fun of Bill Gates when he was talking about email and this thing called the internet and Windows on a computer. We know what life was like before the internet. Can we ever go back? No. The world will stop spinning for a while until we get readjusted again. But I think we can agree that the internet transformed human society 30 years later. And now you can communicate with anybody around the world at the touch of a button, and not just through voice, like when radios first came about, and that was a wonder of the world that you can listen to somebody across the pond from Europe to America. No, we're talking about you can actually on your little screen see the other person while you're talking to them. I was talking to my wife about that in the 90s. No, she's from Philly, I'm from LA, and we met in college in Atlanta. So when we went home for break, yeah, we had long distance phone calls, but you know how expensive that was? I never forget my dad dropped a bill on my bed. It was like $240 for a phone bill. $240 is a lot of money now, but imagine in 1995. And he said, you pay it. So phone was out. We wrote letters. One conversation took 2 weeks. And but I miss those days because of the excitement, the anticipation. I don't know, life was just more mysterious, more fun back in then than it is now because now we have instant gratification. Now, if we had that same technology then, all I'd have to do is pick up the phone, hit a button, and I could see the other person on the other side at any given time and talk for as long as we want. Now, I'm annoyed when my phone rings. Why are you calling me? Text me. And I'll decide if I want to talk to you. So, if that is what the is that if the internet did that for communication, and we're saying that the Bitcoin is going to do for finance, this is a revolution. Currently, there is almost 19 million Bitcoin in circulation. The very last Bitcoin will not be mined until the year 2140. So all 21 million Bitcoin was not released on day one, just like MoveQuest, there's 21 million MQT. What's released for MQT is 2,500 every single day. Who gets those MQT? Those of you that is using your physical activity and you're mining it. Bitcoin, 3.125 Bitcoin is released almost every 10 minutes. Who's getting that? The miners that is building the blockchain. The Bitcoin is a reward. So when you hear people say Bitcoin just is not backed by anything, it's made out of nothing. It costs thousands of dollars for one Bitcoin to be created. It doesn't cost money for this to be created outside of the printing press. So the last Bitcoin, and every 4 years, that Bitcoin supply that's being released gets cut in half. So by the time 2140 rolls around, that's when the very last Bitcoin will be mined. Does that mean that building the blockchain stops? No, it will still be going. So how will you incentivize miners to do it? Well, the miners will be being paid in fees rather than the Bitcoin as a reward. So it will still be profitable. In fact, it's going to be more profitable in the future than it is right now. How does it work? Well, the Bitcoin network is a peer-to-peer network that runs on a decentralized, distributed, self-clearing ledger called the blockchain. Units of currency that run on the Bitcoin network are called Bitcoins, which are used to store and transmit value among network participants. Unlike most currencies issued by central banks, which can be devalued and manipulated, Bitcoins are issued according to a fixed set of rules to create sound money that can't be manipulated by a central authority or a malicious actor. Users can buy or sell goods and services, send money to people or organizations, or even extend credit in a fast, secure, and borderless manner. The only prerequisite for access to these coins is an internet connection and a private key that forms a pair with public-facing keys to provide access to the coins stored on the Bitcoin network. Unauthorized access to someone's private key is similar to stealing gold from the vault, and this is why we say never, ever, ever give your private key to somebody else. Not customer support, not your best friend, nobody. You're giving them your vault. When you do that, did you just give somebody the keys to your house? See, the one thing about crypto is that you are the bank now. See, we're so used to somebody else handling our money, somebody else handling our finances, that they're able to steal from us even slightly every single month. But now you are in control of your own money, which means, are you qualified to handle your own money? You have to think about that. That's why I have ILCA. You've got to become financially literate. A lot of people are not qualified to handle their own money, unfortunately. So that's why I provide this service. So what's Bitcoin's core value proposition? Well, one of the first things that people think about when they learn about Bitcoin is payments. Every financial transaction we make, either with Venmo or our banks, has at least one intermediary that sits in the middle and takes a little cut. What if we could transact with one another in a peer-to-peer way without needing permission? All we need is an internet connection, and we can send money to anyone without anyone's permission in the same way that the internet allows us to send information or an email, just like sending an email. Philosophically, Bitcoin assures that the money you have earned is yours and enforces the idea that you can truly own your wealth. It's in your hands. Payments and being a medium of exchange is an important part of Bitcoin's value proposition, but it's not the only part. Bitcoin is a highly censorship resistant and permissionless store of value. Using the Swiss bank account analogy, there is about $20 trillion worth of wealth in the world stored in offshore bank accounts and shell companies by major companies and many individuals. This is not illegal. Rather, it's to lawfully shield those assets from creditors, taxation, legal jurisdictions, or even corruption. Bitcoin and other crypto assets fulfill this void, and many others to a much greater extent as the first uncensorable and unseizable asset in history. You say, wait, Brandon, what do you mean unseizable? I hear that the government seizes people's crypto and things like that. No. This is where, with further education, you'll learn there's a difference between custodial and non-custodial. Where do you have your crypto being held? Is it on centralized exchanges or decentralized wallets that only you have the private key? If you have it on decentralized wallets where only you have the private key, nobody can seize it unless you give them your private key. The government can't freeze your account. Well, what happened with the truckers in Canada and everything? They had their Bitcoin and crypto on centralized exchanges. Now, don't worry if you don't understand the difference. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing a lesson I have never taught before, so I'm a little nervous about it. See, I'm comfortable with these lessons because I've done this 100 times. But tomorrow night, you're going to see me do a lesson publicly for the very first time, and it is what is decentralization? And we're going to wrap our heads around that concept because that's the basis of what blockchain is, what Web 3.0 is, what cryptocurrency is. It's all about decentralization. So we're going to cover that tomorrow night. Why you should own Bitcoin. You may want to own some Bitcoin for the same reasons why you should invest in anything, to maintain or increase your standard of living over time. This is especially important in the face of inflationary pressures and the fact that fiat currencies are a terrible store of value. Owning Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency is a choice. That is why we are here to educate you so you can make an informed decision. Everyone should build a diversified portfolio to secure their financial futures and enable them to achieve what they want most in life. Crypto assets could play an important role in that, as many believe, and blockchain-based assets are one of the greatest technological innovations and will represent the greatest wealth creation event of our time. In 2009, Bitcoin was worth, oh, I got to update this slide, was worth less than a penny. Today, Bitcoin is worth over 85,000 last time I checked, $88,000 a coin. It may be time that you make the choice. As a disclaimer, this information is intended for educational and training purposes only and should not be construed as investment advice. As with all financial decisions, you should contact your licensed financial advisor before investing in any financial instrument. All right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is our lesson for day 2. Now, we're going to be switching, just like last night, to the Q&A. And for those of you on YouTube, I'm feeling really generous tonight. I'm going to leave the stream open, but you're not allowed to ask questions. Okay. I'm going to leave it open so that you can see our VIP members and if they decide to ask any questions. But tomorrow night, I have to shut off the live stream. Tomorrow night and the rest of the week. Tomorrow night, we will have a special guest speaking to us at the beginning, Professor Oscar Sistrunk from Morehouse College. And then we're going to be doing a lesson that I've never done before. What is decentralization? And it's going to be good. I've already recorded it, but it's different when I'm teaching it live. So I got to see how it flows and everything and what I need to change up. So you guys will be my guinea pigs for that tomorrow night. Same time. If you are on YouTube, you can come back at the same time tomorrow night as well and share with others. If you find this information valuable, don't you think that other people need to know it and they can get this at no cost? So share that to come back tomorrow night. So now let me turn it on over to Miss Marnita Casa to handle our Q&A.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
All right, another phenomenal session, sir. Thank you so very much. Okay, you guys, we only ask three things of you. The first one is please do not unmute your mic until you are called upon. The second is we do ask for two questions unless we have time for more. And the third one is the most important. There are no silly questions. So if you have any, or if you have an aha moment, please raise your hand and I will call on you. First up is the lovely Miss Janine. The floor is all yours.
Hey, Marnita, thanks. Hey, Brandon, that was awesome. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I can't wait. That's going to be a great session too. So listen, I'm one of those people that I remember when Bitcoin was maybe it might have been 70K or 68K or something, and I'm going, oh my God, that's way too high for me to get into. Now I'm understanding it's still a good opportunity, but I'm still trying to wrap my brain around. Right now it's at about what, 88K or something like that. Is it still something that somebody who's newer that wants to put more into their portfolio? Is it still a good time or is it too late? Or what would be the best way to look at it to put it into perspective?
The best way to, and that's an excellent question because that is what a lot of people's fear is when they think that they're too late. They think that you missed the golden era because your friend got it when it was $5,000 or you know somebody that got it when it was $500. It is never too late. First of all, the technology, the development of it right now is at the same place where the internet was in around 1998. So what do we have back then? AOL dial-up. There there was no everyone still liked Blockbuster Video. There was no Netflix or anything at the time, high-speed internet. That's where the technology of blockchain is today. Bitcoin itself is the best performing asset of the past decade and it hasn't gone mainstream yet. So it is still in the zone where I say it is affordable, where people can still own a whole Bitcoin because it's around the cost of a high-end car is how you want to look at it if you want to have a whole Bitcoin. In a year, it's going to be or two, it's going to be around the cost of a house. After that is going to be the cost of you becoming an institutional investor, which means that those are individuals that have $1 million wealth or more. But even no matter how high it goes, every single person can still buy pieces of it. And even if you only had $100 worth of Bitcoin at 88,000, if Bitcoin goes to 120,000, your $100 is still going up in value too. So on Monday night, I'll be doing a lesson called How to Make Money with Bitcoin, and we're going to talk about dollar cost averaging. So if you're brand new, then you have a budget set aside for yourself, just like you would with a savings account. If you're a Christian and you go to Sunday school and they're teaching about money, this is what they always say. You make money first, you tithe 10%, and you have money in your savings account like clockwork. Well, you take that same mentality and say you need to have a percentage that you're going to put into buying crypto. Bitcoin. Professor Sistrunk will tell you Ethereum. He might mention that tomorrow night. But if you do it every single month based on your budget, it doesn't matter what the value of Bitcoin is. Bitcoin could be $500, 100,000. You still dollar cost average every month because you're looking at what is the value going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So if you wait to get started, or if you say, well, yeah, I'm gonna buy Bitcoin when it crashes and drops to $20,000 again. No, you buy Bitcoin now, regardless of what the price is. And that's why I tell my mom. I have my mom set up where every single month a certain amount is deducted from her bank account, regardless of what the value of Bitcoin is. Just keep dollar cost averaging. And this is the one guarantee I can give is that Bitcoin is going to be worth a whole lot more 5 years from now than it is right now. It's just a debate on how much it's going to be. So yeah, you're not too late and you can start
Okay,
now.
so even like if I was like, okay, I'm gonna do $500 in Bitcoin, whatever pieces or parts, that sounds right. And then say each month I want to maybe add 100 or 200 or something like that. In the long run, that's going to be a pretty phenomenal asset going forward.
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much. See, I'm learning. I'm slow, but I'm getting there.
There you go. There you go. All
Thank
right.
you so much for that, Janine. Okay, Miss Judy, the floor is all yours.
Hey, Brandon, thank you so much for taking my question. I am not sure if this is actually appropriate for tonight or if this is more of a crypto talk tomorrow. Um, but it has to do with what we were discussing with regards to El Salvador's comment about continuing to buy Bitcoin until Bitcoin is no longer purchasable with fiat currency. Should I save that for tomorrow?
Yeah,
Well,
save that for Inner Circle Crypto Talk.
okay.
Because
Uh,
again, it's just a debate on what he actually means by that, and I believe he just means that when it's just priced out of the average person's range, and fiat currency is really worth nothing when the global market crashes. But yeah, save that for Crypto Talk tomorrow.
okay. Okay. And the other thing too is that I cannot punctuate enough um that aha moment. And I keep having it over and over. And this was when you first orange pilled me. And Bitcoin was, I think Bitcoin was 11,000 at the time per Bitcoin. And you had told me about how many millionaires and billionaires there were on the planet and how much Bitcoin was left. And even the billionaires couldn't get access to it if they tried. That was what orange pilled me. But the interesting thing is, I watched it go from 11,000 to 35,000. And I was buying it then at the time. And then I remember when it was at 35,000 and it dropped. And I was so disappointed. And it really struck home. I mean, I know you're supposed to dollar cost average, but it really struck home today when I looked at an account that I had completely forgotten about. And I remember I had like $14 worth of Bitcoin sitting in that account. And I looked at it and it was like, oh my gosh, it's like $170 worth of Bitcoin from 14 to 170. And it was like, wow. You know what I mean? Just in terms of, and now when I think I was disappointed when it fell from 35, and now look at it.
Mhm.
So absolutely, absolutely dollar cost averaging, I believe, is the way to go, especially if you're looking to set up your future generations,
Mhm.
as opposed to somebody who's just looking to make a big bag and spend it. So
That's right.
I just wanted to touch on that. And there was a post that I put in our private group that I'm hoping you will touch on tomorrow in
Okay. Crypto
Inner
Talk.
Circle. Yes, yes, the new gold cards.
Okay, no problem. All right, thank you, Judy.
Thanks.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, Miss Patty Geis, the floor is all yours, sweetheart.
Thank you, Maria. Day two, just as great as day one, Brandon. So thank you. So this may not apply to tonight. It may apply to when we start getting into protecting our assets in crypto and things like that. But it popped in my head and I wrote it down. So last week, there was a major exchange, Bybit, that was hacked. And I always just trying to wonder, how are they hacked and how are those assets? So let's look at Bybit, which is an exchange, which do they physically hold the coins or tokens in their own wallet addresses, or is it built within a smart contract or within software? I'm just trying to wrap my head around of how they get hacked, because I just had a brain fart. But an exchange like that, I mean, they're going to know about pig butchering. They're going to know about phishing attacks. They're going to know about how to keep their things secure and not to get a Trojan horse and things like that. How do you think that actually happens when an actual exchange is hacked?
Well, good question. Now, those of you that are in the diamond class, the last lesson we did was titled Cryptocurrency Exchange Security. And
Right.
in that one, go back and listen to that recording in detail because I break down the different ways that exchanges, centralized exchanges, are vulnerable. and how they can protect themselves. And they protect themselves normally with multi-sig wallets, which means that it takes 3 or more individuals to be able to access all the tokens. They keep the bulk of the crypto offline in a cold storage spot. And how they get hacked is because since it's centralized, there's always a central server that can get attacked. If it's even built as a centralized smart contract, not every smart contract is secure. There can be vulnerabilities that can be impacted if it's not completely secure. Now, today's exchanges are a lot secure. So even if they do get hacked, the people don't lose all their funds because
Right.
they're holding it offline. I think the last main one, maybe Quadriga CX, because he took the private keys to his death with them. But even Bybit, the people didn't lose their funds. Bybit themselves lost money. So it cost Bybit to lose money, but not the consumers. And a lot of them, if they're in the United States, it's insured. The exchange themselves do it. So I always say, never keep your tokens on a centralized exchange for long-term holding. Only
Right.
put money on the exchange for that you're going to be using for transactions and trading, and never have more than 10,000. And as we have seen, these hackers are getting more sophisticated every day, and they're figuring out different ways to get into centralized exchanges. And that's why I had to write the whole course on security. So yeah, I'm going to cover that more on Thursday night when we talk about
Okay.
wallet security, and we'll
Yeah,
go
and
over.
I remember we went over it in Diamond class, but it just every time you talk about it, it solidifies it a lot more, and it just really clicks of really what's happening in that space. So another thing I wanted to bring up is, I look at Bitcoin and it's like 82,000 or something like that today. When I bought some yesterday, I think it was at 95. So when I went to 82 today, it was like, ugh. But, I may not have a lot of Bitcoins that I own yet. But one thing that I have to appreciate about you, Brandon, is with Crypto Talk and ILCA, because although I may not have been able to be at the beginning of Bitcoin when it first started at 0.000.8 cents or whatever it was at, that I didn't know about it. But there's different other coins and tokens and projects that we find in Crypto Talk, where if we do get in early, and it's something that we learn as a whole while we're in class and we learn about it, or we find a token on our own, and you've given us the tools to go out to vet the projects. You've given us the tools to go out and understand how much we could actually make with that coin and token. And that's why Crypto Talk is so valuable. And I'm so thankful that when I first got started with you, 2.5, almost 3 years ago, when a couple different projects came out, I was able to learn how to read the charts, which allowed me to go vet my own projects, to go out there and turn $33 into $350 in less than 30 minutes. But I would have not known any of that had I not just decided that this is just like a college. You created a curriculum. Sorry, that's a tough word sometimes. But you created a system that allows us to learn, like you always say that, I got to be able to explain it to your mom. And you got to make it as simple as possible. And that's what you do for us. And because of that, you made it so simple. And I can always go back and listen to some of the trainings that you did on trading so that I understood how to read the charts. I didn't know any of that before getting started with ILCA. And I certainly couldn't have asked the guy on YouTube and I wouldn't have known who to ask. So I'm just thankful for that. I'm thankful for the fact that I can still get involved in a project on the ground floor, still have the same type of reward or return that I can from Bitcoin as if I had started with it earlier on. And that has even happened. One of the most recent projects that we've gotten involved with, many of us, and I was trying to just calculate how much I had gotten back. And, you know, when you go over the 4 rules of Bitcoin that you have, so rule number 3 is always in my head. So I made over an 800% profit.
Wow.
And I took it out. The minute it hit, I took it out, and I took more of it out. But I took a pretty considerable amount out and still left a considerable amount in. And I'm not trying to unfairly entice anybody to participate. Is this going to happen to you? I don't know. I don't know if it happened to me again, but it has happened to me. But all I know is, Brandon, thank you, because you give us the tools and the foundation to make something possible, to really go out and change the trajectory of our family and the wealth and the generational wealth, and how to be able to make a difference in our families' lives. And I thank you for that. So my time is up.
Much appreciated, Patty. Thank you very, very much. It pays to be in the inner circle. That's all I can say.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I had to wait till I got done screaming. Miss Patty, that was absolutely beautiful. We love you, and your progress shows. Every time you come in, every time you ask a question, you can see how much you're growing and how much you're learning. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you for being a part of our community. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else? There she is. Okay, Midge, the floor is all yours, love.
Thank you, Patty. That was beautiful. I'm just going to say ditto, 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 because I was at the very beginning of MQT, but I didn't know what to do with it. And so since I've joined the inner circle, and Brandon, you've just kind of hand fed me what to do. And I see this light in your eyes, and now I can go, okay, that's the time. So I just did that yesterday and bought my second small bit of crypto, and it went up 33%. So I started with $50, and this last night I had $75 in it this morning. And that was all because I had the courage to do it. And then I called my son, and he did it as well. So we were both so excited. But the most prize that I get out of all this is that I see that my family has become closer. And there is 7 of us in our family, and all 7 of us are in this project. So, and I talk to them more than I have ever talked to any of them. So, knowing how mothers are with their children, it seems as you grow older, they either get closer, but not for the right reasons. But this one, they're getting closer because we're all doing something together, not because I need them or they need me more than I need them. So I just want to thank you so much for putting this on. And I keep inviting people. I can see that lots of people need this, but it is work. There is no doubt about it. It's not an easy road. And especially if you're as old as I am and trying to figure out, like a new language and everything. But
well, thank you, Midge.
Consistency. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of our community as well. And congratulations to your whole family for getting them all involved. That's what everybody should be doing.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just be so into everything I forget I'm hosting. Okay, is there anyone else? Mitch, thank you so much. That's so beautiful. And Thomas, if you're here, thank you for everything. I see you. Thank you for everything as well, Thomas. Is there anyone else that has an aha moment? Or, oh, there he is. Mr. Kenny Taylor, the floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Mel. I guess I'll put in my little 2 cents. Yeah, this community, Miss Marnita, Brandon, everyone in this community, I want to say that, yeah, I made a little money. I lost a lot of money before this. It was first foremost. My first introduction to crypto were scams and not knowing what I was doing. I'm still trying to get my wallet back from one scam that I have to fix. But the main thing I get out of Crypto Talks ILCA is confidence, because I haven't learned all the skills, especially when it comes to trading, but the skills that I've learned in the last year and a half, 2 years or 3 years, no matter what happens, I know I can start over and regain it all back without any worry. Yeah, I might be pissed off. Oh, I lost this over here. But I get back into my lessons, put my head down, rely on those skills that I've learned from ILCA, from this community, and go back to work. And I know how to look at projects and see what's a good project. I know what a wallet is. I know oh man, I can transfer money between wallets in like minutes now, where it used to take me like 2 hours trying to figure out, 2 or 3 steps. And I'm sitting there worried. I'm scared to push the button because I don't know if I'm doing it right. And then I'm emailing someone or asking somebody in the community, hey, can you walk me through this? But now I'm at the point where I can help other people now. And when they need help, so the confidence that you get from education is priceless. So anyone who feels they don't need the education, I'm just going to tell you, an idiot. So if it takes you losing $10 or $100,000 before you figure it out, then you got to bump your head. But you can't put a price on education, because no matter what happens in your life, you're never going to lose that education. You can lose your wealth, you can lose everything, but if you had an education and the skills, you can make it back. That's the confidence of being educated.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Taylor. And yeah, you've been here for a while and you've been putting into action. So I love seeing your progress, and thank you for sharing your experience with being part of our ILCA family.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Okay, so I'm going to give it back to you, Mr. Ivy. Thank you, everyone.
all right. Well, I enjoyed tonight. I hope you guys did as well. I always say, I hope you learned something new. As always, that's the point. Tomorrow night, we're going to be back at the same time, and we're going to be talking about decentralization. What is it? What does that mean? That's going to be, and I'm going to be nervous. My first time teaching that lesson. And we have Professor Oscar Sistrom from Morehouse College that will be with us tomorrow night as well. Those of you in the inner circle, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning, and we'll see how does the market bounce back from what happened this morning on that big drop. And those of you on YouTube, we invite you guys to be a part of our VIP and our inner circle. Go to ilcacryptonews.com to upgrade. ilcacryptonews.com. As you see, it pays to be in the inner circle. And I have a goal to help at least 100 people in that inner circle to be earning anywhere between $2,500 to $5,000 a month as being a part of our community, especially with the projects we have going on, which is one of them. I'm about to hop on the update call right now called MoveQuest. So that is those of you on the MoveQuest, I'm going to shut off now, and I'll see you guys over there. Everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow morning in Inner Circle and tomorrow night for day 3 of the 5-day challenge. Thank all of you guys for your words and participation, and Ms. Casa for being our hostess. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.